Hi, Zobble1925 and welcome to Elite Dangerous on the Legacy version on Xbox. And today I've got a continuation of yesterday's video. So Selfish the One was annoyed that we pushed him out, so he came back, and this time he came back in a Phantom with Plasmax. Now I'm not showing the whole of the fight, I'm going to show bits of it. But Selfish, or Captain Gaslighter, was annoyed that me and Meta Orange chased him out, I think, and he came back in a Plasma Phantom to push us out. This time Meta had changed into his more heavy duty combat Dolphin, so Meta wasn't such an easy kill, and we had another round of fighting. Now this really got silly and out of hand, because after this fight he came back in a different ship and tried again, then he came back in a different ship and tried again, then he called for assistance, and eventually he got some TOC members to come over and assist him, because he was being bullied and outnumbered by the DMPS. Now, when we're trying to pirate in a system and someone turns up that's going to kill our customers or try and kill us, we have several options. One, which is our preferred method, is some of us will distract the PvP as well of a pirate. Now, that's dependent on how many people we've got and how dumb the people we're fighting are. This always used to work well against the Lawfuls because they were so blind, so blinded by the pursuit of glory in killing the likes of me, that I could happily fight 4 or 5 of them and they wouldn't notice that Hairy Polo was sat in Super Cruise still pirating the entire time that they were fighting me and a couple of other members of the Dark Marauders. And you didn't even have to deploy your weapons. You could literally just fly around them for just keep jousting with the whole group of them repeatedly for ages, just buying time for Polo to keep pirating. That sadly doesn't work on TOC too much because they're not idiots. Now the other 2 methods we have is, one, basically try and win the right to control the system by beating the other people up. That just is basically a numbers game and depends on how often the other side want to keep the fight going. Now this is really unfortunate for Selfish, but after that fight I decided to switch ships, and I happened to pick the absolute right thing. I definitely picked scissors to his paper because he came back in his Cobra mine layer and I'm sat here with a missive and missiles, so kind of unfair, kind of wrong. Me and Meta both had missiles and a missive, and once we took his drives out it was pretty fundamentally easy kill. I've sped this footage up, but like I said, there's a lot of footage in this video because the next fight after this one took 30 odd minutes. Now the other method we use when confronted by a lot of people who want to PvP us or fight us is we bog off to another system and go pirate somewhere else. That's literally the sometimes the most sensible option, because we're not that interested in the PvP, we just want to pirate. And there's nothing more frustrating between fights with TOC and Selfish on this night, when I was in a combat ship. Of course there was a Type 7 that just went through system and couldn't do anything about it, couldn't pirate it, couldn't do anything. So that's kind of annoying, but we did kill Selfish and his Cobra. So he came back, and this time he was in a Phantom with multi-cannons, which I gotta say was an absolute pain in the butt because it's 4 gimbal multi-cannons. I don't have any chaff and I've only got 694 shield strength on this thing, though I do have a good turn of pace at 641 meters per second. This ship is just crazy. It's all lightweighted, very silly build, just super fast pirate ship. It's designed for one thing and one thing only, which was to try and pirate orcas, because when there was rare trade CGs, there were a couple of people that ran super fast orcas to run rare goods in, and they were an absolute nightmare to pirate. So I built this thing because it goes 10 meters per second faster than they do, so it's just to give them a scare and see if I could pirate them. But to be honest, my club was probably better for that, but this ended up becoming a really ridiculous thing of trying to get the max speed out of a Mamba, and considering my other 2 Mambas are my standard ship build, which means disgustingly heavy, I have the most lightweighted Mamba you could have and the most heavyweight Mamba you can have, and I've got one that's erring on the side of fat. My phasing member is not exactly lightweight either. She's kind of more towards the heavy end. Certainly a lot lighter than my heavyweight one, but still very heavy, with heavy duty shields and ridiculously good ramming potential. But this ship is just ridiculous. I've got undersized and lightweighted weapons, so I have 2 medium missile racks on the large hardpoints, 2 lightweight small multi-cannons, and I think I've got 1 overcharged large multi-cannon on the huge slot. So in terms of firepower, this thing hits with marshmallows and constantly has to reload, because even though the missile racks are actually the max capacity rapid fire ones that I got from that CG, they do tend to run out pretty quickly. Even though they are max capacity, they are still medium racks on the on the large slots. So yeah, all in all, this ship was perfect to fight his Cobra, not so perfect to fight against a multi-cannon Phantom build. And yeah, he kept going his BioE's back. Meta lasted in there much longer than any of us expected. I couldn't believe how long Meta actually survived in there. I don't know if Selfish had a missive or not, but Meta just stayed in there for so long. It did eventually die, but you know, Meta doesn't mind dying in his Dolphin. It's all good fun to him. And eventually Dark Owl got back in and was demanding a wing invite from me, but he wasn't appearing online, so I had a bit of fun trying to get him in the wing. Like I say, I'm not showing the whole fight because it was 38 minutes long. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't know why Salvage did it, but he was determined to beat the 2v1, which we meanly turned into a 3v1 in this fight, which I think then triggered him to then call in TOC. So this was, it did get out of hand, but it was more of a gradual escalation of events. But honestly, all I wanted to do was pirate. It actually got really annoying, because like I said, there was one moment I'm sat there in a combat ship, TOC are 1 jump away, we're waiting for them to jump back over, and a Type 7 just goes past me in Super Cruise, and I'm like, are we all in combat ships? And yeah, every Dark Marauder was a combat ship, so nothing we could do for that. Trader just got through unmolested. If TOC had been there, they would have killed it, but you know, we wanted to pirate people and ended up instead having an evening of combat, which, you know, is its own entertainment, its own fun, but I'd much rather be pirating. I am way more competent as a pirate than I am as a PvPer. I'll say that. And yeah, and also this ship is hopeless in PvP. It's fun and silly, but it's absolutely hopeless in PvP unless the person is in a very weak ship that's susceptible to missiles. This thing is absolutely hopeless in PvP because it hits like, you know, a ship with undersized lightweight weapons. So yeah, it doesn't exactly do the highest DPS in the world. But eventually, what with Owl dropping in a beam, an FDL with beam, you know, Selfish eventually had to call it quits and get out of there. So he did rope in some members of TOC to come over, and it kept escalating from there. Deck was in party, but was on his way back from Clagonia, so we got Deck into the wing, and I'll probably bring you the last fight of the evening in a video next week, because I've got lots of clips from that, and it was a long, weird fight. But don't worry, there's some funny bits coming up in this one. So after like that fight, I had a chat with Selfish, and then he turned up. So Danger was in his Phantom with high yield cannons and mines. There was a Corvette in here with Plasmax and shields for days, and Selfish was in his multi-cannon Phantom. So I went straight after Selfish. I just ignored the 2 members of TOC pretty much in this fight. Al and me were the only 2 Dark Marauders here, and against the full wing of TOC, well, against members of TOC, we weren't really equipped for it. So I was like, I'll push Selfish out, and then we'll see what's left. And Al was in a mine laying Cobra trying to do his best, just to be a nuisance. And if he got lucky and mined someone's shields off, we might have done something. But you know, the most likely thing to happen was I was going to lose my shields, because I don't evade mines, I just run through them all. But I, like I say, went straight after Selfish, and was just determined to push Selfish out before even me or Al left the instance. That was basically my entire plan for this fight. And I knew Deck was getting closer and closer to home, so it's kind of like, me and Al will just jump in, distract him for a bit, get Deck in the wing. Then we're 3v3, we've got more of a chance. And also, maybe Deck can help keep them busy and I can go back to pirating. That was part of my thought process as well. So it was all a bit of fun. It is good fun fighting against the TOC guys. They use a lot of really janky and weird builds. I did challenge the Corvette pilot to a 1v1 in my Corvette. His response was, no, fuck that, my Corvette's not built for that, because this is a super lightweight Corvette designed to attack mediums, whereas mine is a ridiculously heavyweight Corvette designed to have ridiculous shields. So we were in party later and he told me that he'd already switched to a different ship before he'd seen my invite to a 1v1, but he had no interest in 1v1 in that ship. Now, I must admit I was very cheeky and it did come back to bite me, but while I was chasing Selfish out, I may have been cheeky with the messages, and I might have sent him a bye with a couple of kisses, and that may come back to bite me in a minute. But I sent that to Selfish because that was it. As far as I was concerned, that was my mission complete. I dropped in to try and chase Selfish out of the instance. I did, and at this point I'm like, I'm not doing anything to that Corvette. I could burn, I've already melted my systems down to about 70% health, 75-ish% health, and I think my shield generator was on 60 odd because I had hit a couple of mines. So I was like, well, I am not doing anything to that Corvette. There isn't anything I can do to that. I could burn my lasers out and blow myself up, and I still probably wouldn't get his shields down at this point. The one thing with this ship is it's built to last through 1v1. It's not good for wing fighting because it cooks itself. And as for Danger, well, Danger he could outrun me. He was planting mines everywhere, so that was not going to go well for me. So I just decided to head back to my carrier and switch ship and wait for Deck to turn up. Now, Danger being Danger has seen my little bye with a couple of kisses, so Danger being the hyena he is, decided to put bye in a couple of kisses as I jumped out.
Son of a bitch. He stole my life.